Healthwish is a series of conversations about the state of healthcare in New York City's fabulous fifth borough, Staten Island. Our goal is to raise issues, raise awareness, and raise health, because when we raise health, we raise everyone. Lace up your skates, because today we're at the Staten Island Skating Pavilion with Staten Island University Hospital's Executive Director, Dr. Brahim Ardolic, and Associate Medical Director, Dr. Paul Barbara. These two emergency medicine pros take to the ice to discuss sports, emergency medical services, and Northwell's commitment to building a healthier, safer community. Give it a listen.
Hey Staten Island, welcome to the Staten Island Skating Pavilion, the wonderfully renovated, brand new location where our kids come to skate on a regular basis. It's a huge part of this community, and we couldn't be happier to be here, and we couldn't be happier to be with Dr. Barbara. Paul, it's a pleasure to see you again.
Good to see you, Dr. Ardolic. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. We've only known each other for about 15 years.
Yes.
I am responsible for bringing Dr. Barbara to Staten Island and give him his first job here. So for those who don't know, Paul really has a pretty amazing background. He's an ED doc, has an extensive background in EMS, and has done a lot of things that relate to youth awareness of injury and a lot of things that, we're going to talk about a little bit. But the reality is, you're also a dad, and you're also somebody that played youth sports throughout your life. What does a place like this mean to the community when you have children, or for yourself?
It's a great question. I grew up skating in the War Memorial Pavilion on Clove Road. Hockey was the cool thing to do when I was in high school. I never lost the love of it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being out on the ice. I enjoyed doing something that was exhilarating and fun and learning all at the same time. As my career progressed, it became evident that the community involvement is so crucial to what we do and how we raise our children. And it's not just about hockey. I had my daughters skating here, doing figure skating. I've engaged with leadership here to work through not only being a person on the team, but being leadership with the team. I actually got started coaching here, and having been a volunteer dad at baseball coaching, transitioning to youth hockey coaching has really revolutionized how I approach some of my adult life, in that it is about a communication, it is about perception, it is about identifying what those individual kids need.
If you ask people that have grown up and you ask them what they remember about the place they grow up, it's amazing how often they will tell you something that relates to an activity they did as a child. It's such a natural partnership with a hospital, because when you think of community, it's about the things that we do with our children and then taking care of people that need our help as they get older. We have this wonderful partnership with the skating arena that has become such an integral part of the South Shore community. And I think it's really cool to tell people, how did we first get involved with this?
I like to think we all wear a lot of hats. And one of the hats I wore was being more and more involved on behalf of my kids and the kids we were coaching, that we became somewhat leaders within these travel hockey leagues. I guess being a busybody or making connections is really something that, that I have a talent with. How many people we touch base with in the emergency department. And all I did was connect a couple people by cell phone, and very fortunately for both sides, they just hit it off. And it's almost like, when you have a friend of a friend and you just say, hey, this is my friend, and those two people become friends, that partnership really just exploded from connecting two very good people who just needed to cross paths. And those paths crossing did such wonders for everybody, because Vinny Tuzzalo is just a great guy who wants the right thing for the teams and for the kids, and he is revolutionary in his give back to the community. And Vinny taught me things about giving back to the community and had ideas that we had never heard of when we were part of the travel team here. And the leadership at the hospital really just did wonderful things with Vinny. Seeing that partnership grow was so fulfilling for me as an adult, because I didn't really do anything except put two people in a room together, and there's so much benefit here from that partnership, because it's more than just a hockey rink. It is a skating rink.
So it started out as, hey, can you help us out by sponsoring a scoreboard? It actually turned into a wonderful relationship that's really been great for everybody involved, and we think a wonderful part of what we're able to do in this community.
I agree.
Yeah. So tell me about safety, youth safety in sports. I mean, we all saw what happened with Jamar Hamlin on the field, and of course, to have it happen in an evening NFL game, which is one of the most watched things in the country. Yet, on a lesser scale, there are real injuries in sports, and the reality is we have to acknowledge that even at the lowest level, there's real risk when you actually do any physical contact in any kind of an activity, and frankly, even in sports where there isn't a lot of physical contact.
Yeah.
So I guess but trying to make that as safe as possible, especially for our children. I know it's something that you're very passionate about, and I know it's something that we've talked about here. Any thoughts on that?
I think as an emergency medicine provider, we see patients who are typically not having their best day. How that translates to being in a youth sports event is important, where it drives the concept of preparation. And so often in an event like this, such as the NFL game you described, time is of the essence. And when an event happens, it's unpredictable, but having prepared staff and prepared access to care is really crucial. You can't predict who's going to be in the audience that day. In fact, in some situations, especially here on Staten Island, it's pretty likely you're going to have some sort of first responder or healthcare provider knowledge at the situation. So having access to devices such as an automatic external defibrillator, stop the bleed kits, public access medication kits, this is crucial to allowing a reduction in time, because we can't get a paramedic crew or an EMT crew on scene within that crucial 1 to 2 minutes, which is why it's very important that people have awareness. My kids at this point know when people go down, what to do.
So I think most people nowadays know what an AED is, right? So the thing that you attach onto somebody in public settings that actually defibrillates them out of all the dangerous rhythms. What's a stop the bleed kit? Because I don't think most people know what that is.
So a stop the bleed kit, it provides life-saving equipment such as a tourniquet or specialty types of gauze that stop bleeding with medications on them. Those stop the bleed kits can be life-saving mechanisms when someone has a dangerous bleeding situation. And with people having comorbid illnesses, some people are taking blood thinners and anticoagulants. That stop the bleed kit can save lives if it's here and amenable to people who want to help. It can't get here by drone yet. It can't get here by ambulance yet. It's an advancement for a community facility to have the awareness that this is a thing that can save lives.
Yeah, and the reality is, you're talking about a place on ice, people who are skating around with blades on their feet and who are shooting a little hard piece of plastic, at, even in the youth level, at fairly high rates of speed. You really have to have something like that available.
After the renovation, I was so proud to see how engaged they were to have safety for everyone, not just the skaters, not just the players, but for even audience members and the spectators, because some of those games can get a little rowdy. Having safety equipment on site is really the best way to take care of people in an unpredictable environment.
I want to talk a little bit about EMS. So
I can do that.
I know you can. I know you can. We've had some conversations in the past. It's really great to have Dr. Barbara as one of the EMS medical directors for a company as large as Northwell. I do want to ask you, to be one of the people responsible on the medical side for something as large as Northwell EMS, and what are some of the positive things that actually means for Staten Island?
So I think what got me into EMS was a combination of my background as a son of a fire chief and the desire for knowledge at all costs. And that escalation between academics and community service and municipal response really found me in my career. And EMS itself is a puzzle. It's one of the things I love most about what I do. How EMS integrates at Staten Island is great, because we have a geographically isolated location. We have our bridges. We're abutted on 3 sides by another state. Patients on Staten Island have an ability to get emergent care in multiple locations. That being said, there's some situations where we even need to move someone off Staten Island, unfortunately. And that's where the benefit of being in our system and having the network of subspecialists and subspecialists really becomes important. Those patients occasionally need to be transferred to outside facilities to move that critical care patient off the island to a remote location, and then bring them back once that care has been completed. And I'm very proud to be part of the team that builds that has created this network of care where you don't need to leave the island, but if you do need to leave the island, we're going to take care of you safely and get you home. And fortunately, we also, being a leader within the Northwell system for burns, we have an opportunity to bring external transfers into Staten Island for people throughout other areas of our region.
So I'll give you an example in both directions, right? So if you have a child that's burned somewhere in the middle of Long Island, or frankly, as we saw recently, as far north as Mount Kisco, someone who needed care for skin or burn, we would bring that person in, and I'll let you talk about how we would bring that person in, but we really don't send much out of Staten Island University Hospital anymore, but there are a couple of things that, frankly, we send to our other Northwell sites, and it's actually usually things like heart transplants. So if somebody came in with a bad myocarditis that wasn't going to recover, or somebody came in with a heart that just wasn't conducive to being fixed, which isn't that many people anymore, thank God, but it does occasionally happen, and we've had those situations. How would we be able to move these people around?
It's not just about the one physician saying, I accept that patient. It has to do with so many other people who are part of the transfer team, the logistics teams, the bed management teams, the nursing staff, the EMS crews, and everyone pulls together on behalf of that one common mission, which is patient care. So those communications in years past with telephones and fax machines was an antiquated method, but the way we've embraced healthcare safe information technology has allowed for more rapid decision making, more rapid communication, more efficient communication, especially in patients that are dynamically ill and have changes. And we have a very, very, very strong track record of moving these critically ill people with great results.
So you're talking about Sky Health. You're talking about the ability to actually have a helicopter. There's not many people in America that could actually get a helicopter to go somewhere at their whim. So the fact that you can actually, for these types of things, we have a pad, we have a copter, and we can go and take the people where they need to be.
Actually, there's 2 helicopters now.
Wow.
Sky Health 2 is just coming online in the next few weeks.
Wow.
And we're providing service throughout Long Island, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island, the Westchester area, as well as areas of Connecticut. And Northwell has built one of the premier flight programs in an urban environment, which is really not commonly seen in, national and international EMS. Generally, it's for geographic isolation or other barriers that the ground crews can't navigate, such as water, mountains, desert, etc. And we have a very robust, safe, efficient flight program that our residents even fly on. So when the residents come through Staten Island Hospital Emergency Medicine program, they're in an urban environment with the ability to get flight medicine experience, which is unparalleled, in my opinion.
So I do have to take a moment just to mention a legacy of service. I mean, Paul is very humble about his family and about their legacy of service. I think it is important to note that Paul's family has been involved in the fire department and EMS for a very long time. Paul's dad is one of the people that we lost in 9/11, and frankly, your dad was one of the highest ranking officers, and Fidney was lost that day.
Yes.
And I know you'll be incredibly proud of all the work you've done and all the people that you've helped save.
Yeah, that's, I'll hear my voice change already, Dr. A, but we're amongst friends, so it's okay. Everything I do is because of my dad, and my dad coached my Little League teams. And it's sad that he's not here for this. He's not here to see what we've built. But I know he's responsible for all of it. And it's, the hospital embraced me in that section as well. As, there's a burn bed with my dad's name on it.
Yep.
And the Regina McGinn area where the residents are educated has a plaque to Dad. And, the tenets of what I was raised on, which were do the right thing, give back to your community, learn at all costs. That's, Staten Island Hospital gave me a home. I don't have a firehouse that I can go look at a plaque, but I have a plaque in my house that I can go to.
He'd be real proud of you, Paul.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. All right, you made me cry. You Barbara Walters me.
Healthwish wishes to thank our very special guest, Staten Island University Hospital's Executive Director, Dr. Brahim Ardolic, and Associate Medical Director, Dr. Paul Barbara. We're very interested in your health wish. Contact us at healthwish@northwell.edu. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again soon.